The Bakugo clan was founded in the Hidden Stone Village. Their clan had a unique fire style ninjutsu that was passed down from member to member that was meant to be studied and used only when necessary. The newest member of the clan, Katsuki Bakugo, only age 4 at the time, was learning how to weave hand signs for the jutsu. His mother, Mitsuki Bakugo, was a former Jonin and often trained her son when she could, even teaching him different ways to use it and manipulate the ability. Masaru Bakugo was married into the clan, but thought it was best for his son to learn a few abilities of his just in case. Katsuki didn't really care for it though. Sure, he didn't mind having a few extra things to learn, but it's not like he really wanted to learn them. One day during his training, Katsuki was learning the basics of the jutsu his mother passed down to him. Suddenly he had heard an explosion. It had come from the village. Katsuki quickly rushed over to the village wondering what had happened. He stopped at the village gates, noticing it's completely covered in fog. It was very thick, but he made his way through it cautiously. The fog wasn't getting any lighter, as Katsuki stumbled around trying to keep his guard up. Just as he seems to be making some progress, he trips over something and lands on the ground. He stands up slowly while dusting himself off and looks back to see what exactly he tripped over. And what he was met with was bodies all over the ground. Some of them were fellow villagers, others were outsiders. He took a look at the headband, and it was from the Hidden Mist village. Katsuki's blood ran cold, as he could hear the screams of innocent people getting slaughtered and butchered upon the very streets he walked on every day. Upon hearing the screams, he heard an evil cackle from deep in the fog. Katsuki tried to hold his ground and face the man in front of him, but the tension was too much. Though he could not see anyone, he could feel their intent to kill. Katsuki started to lose focus and hyperventilate before shouting he wouldn't go down without a fight. As if on cue, the boy's mother and father had appeared to guard him, both badly injured and bloody from battle. Katsuki was happy to see them and begged for them to try and leave. Both Masaru and Mitsuki looked at each other. They needed to get as far away as possible from the village and get Katsuki to safety. Knowing his wife would try and argue with him, he smiled and told her that he loved her and Katsuki, before using a wind-style ninjutsu to push them both back towards the village gates. Mitsuki shouted for Masaru, but it was too late. After a few moments, all that could be heard was screams of pain and agony. Katsuki was completely baffled. In just moments, his father's voice was gone. Katsuki reached his hand out and wanted to scream, but his mother covered his mouth and took him off to the forest. She was able to find the cave far from the village and hid Katsuki there and told him not to come out under any circumstances. No matter what he hears, he has to stay put. She was about to leave and hopefully go back and get Masaru, praying that he's alive. Before she leaves, he grabs her hand and places it on his head. Tears flow from the small boy's eyes as he begs her not to leave. Mitsuki loved her son, and there had never been a single time she had seen him cry. She knew that if she stayed, he could be captured or worse, killed if they were found. She hugs him, kisses his forehead, before letting him know that he is loved and knocking him out unconscious. She laid his body on the ground, making sure he was hidden well, deep in the cave, before leaving. When Katsuki awoke, he heard rain falling and thunder booming. He stood up and looked around, and his mother was nowhere to be found. He suddenly remembered everything she told him and ran off towards the village. Fear and anxiety was all over the boy's body as he entered the village to find bodies of mist and stone alike. He went to where he last heard from his father, and on the ground laid Masaru's lifeless and mutilated body. Tears poured from his eyes. He stayed like this for a while before realizing he still hasn't found his mother. Katsuki rushed around the village and couldn't find her anywhere. He shot out of the village, begging for her to still be alive. After running a bit further past the cave he was hiding in, he saw her body, bloody and beaten, floating down a river. He quickly jumped in and tried to pull her ashore, but the current was too strong, and ended up taking them down a waterfall and into a lake. Katsuki swims with all of his might, pulling his mother from the lake onto dry land. He looked down at her lifeless body and cried, begging for her to wake up, to train him, to yell at him. Something, just wake up. Katsuki is now faced with the reality of both his parents dying at the hands of the Mist Village. Just as the boy was going to make his way back to the village, a man walked up to him and asked if he wanted revenge. He asked the boy if he wanted to avenge the death of his loved ones, to avenge all the people who was murdered by the Hidden Mist Village. The boy, who was on guard and cautious of the man, nodded slowly. The old man smiled evilly and told him he could give him the training and the ability to take his vengeance upon them all before holding a hidden leaf headband towards the boy. He held out his hand towards Katsuki, hoping he would accept the offer. The boy was unsure of what to do, but he knew one thing for sure: the Hidden Mist will pay with their blood. He shook the man's hand and tied the headband around his head. 8 years have passed since that fateful day. Katsuki Bakugo is now an Anbu of the Hidden Leaf Village, and is going to debut his strength during this year's Chunin exams. As Katsuki trains, the old man appears and tells him not to hold back against the sand at all. He nods before stating, "Yes, I will defeat any enemy who opposes me, Lord Danzo." The old man chuckles and looks him in the eyes. Katsuki, now understanding who this is, has a more distasteful sense about the man. He did some research. Danzo is a very, very spiteful man. He always had wondered why he kept his arm covered up, and it was realized and revealed to him that arm is completely covered in Uchiha Sharingan. Katsuki had heard about the Uchiha. Honestly, if anybody's a monster, it's Danzo. He wanted to go and convey the truth to the Hokage. Unfortunately, he could not. Just at the young age of 5, back when he was still training, Danzo placed a curse mark on him, binding his tongue. Whenever he wanted to lash out or speak ill of him, he could not, due to the curse mark, and if he ever tried to, he would die. Katsuki kept his composure. Even after Danzo had left, Katsuki wanted to just attack. He wanted to feel something, but he could not. Every day he felt like he has dishonored the Bakugo clan due to what he is doing now. For the past several years, killing just for the sake of killing, and not a single one of them has been the Mist Village like he had promised. He took his anger out on one of the training dummies and looked down, hoping, praying that one day soon he will not only take his vengeance upon the Hidden Mist, but one of these days, he hopes that he can kill Danzo.